This video was made possible by viewers like you over on Patreon. Check out the link in the description to hear how you can help make shows like this be even more amazing.
Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here, and welcome back to, this. You about done?
Nope.
Dude, the dev said that's what it is.
And the guy who made the GIF format still calls it GIF, and he's still wrong!
So, our patrons voted to have us do another Monster Hunter Rise video. I guess we're still in the middle of the hype, or maybe it's because of that Bishaten video we did a couple weeks back, and sorry Senko-san, maybe next time. And I thought it might be kind of cool for us to talk about another Monster Hunter monster that debuted in Rise, and talk about its folklore yokai origins, and here we are.
It's a Basan, god damn it!
Okay, look, let's just start back at the beginning with Aknosom's introduction cutscene. Each one of these for the other games' monsters have given massive hints to their yokai cultural origin, so let's just see what this says. Okay, so here's the thing. It's long been the consensus that the Monhun devs based the Aknosom largely on the Kasobake, or Karakasa, a Tsukumogami thing yokai defined as an inanimate item that has existed for over 100 years, gaining sentience after that century of time. Yeah, Edo period Japan was really big into making all kinds of yokai out of everyday homey items due to a larger centralization of population density, and this umbrella yokai is one of them. So knowing that, you can immediately discern the references here in Aknosom's introduction. It's hopping on one leg, similar to the movement of the Kasobake, the general shape of it coiled up looking like an umbrella, and finally the narrator straight up mentions that it, quote, resembles a parasol, something that is yet again mentioned in its Japanese title of Umbrella Bird.
It's not a Kasobake.
Dude, what more do you need? Under its game description, it states that it tends to stand on one leg, just like the Kasobake, and somewhat resembles an umbrella, the thing Kasobake actually is, and under its physiology page, it stated that it has an umbrella-shaped crest on its head. And according to Rise's very website, it stands on one leg, its collar gives off the appearance of a monstrous parasol, and it unfolds its eye-like crest on its head, a direct parallel to not only the Kasobake's single leg, but also its single eye. Something that Hunt poster Hojo in-game emphasizes in his artistic depictions of Aknosom. One leg, a big eye-looking crest, and an umbrella-looking body. Oh yeah, and that red accent on its front? Yeah, let's talk about that for a hot second. Now, based on this concept art of Aknosom, already the designers are pointing out that it has an umbrella-shaped body when it pulls its plumage in, but look right here. The designers also made a purposeful design reference to a big, long tongue using the red accent in front of Aknosom's umbrella body, the last defining feature of the Kasobake. Yeah, unlike a lot of other yokai that brought physical harm to humans, the worst that these hoppy parasols did was lick people. And even then, some people may not even consider that a bad thing, but the evidence is right there, plain as day, black and white. Or red, I guess. And then finally, there's the concept art, color palette, and yokai references that the official Monster Hunter Twitter put out a while back, talking about the Great Izuchi, Aknosom, and Tetranodon. For Aknosom, the references shown here are a Tancho Zuru, or Red Crown Crane, the Kasobake, and a Torioi Gasa hat. There's no Basan, dude!
Believe what you want, man, I ain't buying it. Granted, I agree there's a lot of obvious evidence that Aknosom is partially Kasobake-based, irrefutable proof even. But to utterly lack any sort of official referencing to the Basan it's just freaking wrong considering how so much of the Aknosom, its design, habitat, behavior, is so much more related to it rather than the Kasobake.
Well then, let's hear it. What is it about the Aknosom that makes it so much more related to the Basan? And maybe explain what the heck Basan are. You are talking about a highly localized yokai folk story, my dude.
Well, I'd be glad to explain. But before I get started, just to address the elephant in the room, because I know someone in the comments is gonna ask me about it, when it comes to all the gear that Aknosom makes, yeah, there is zero connection here with either yokai or Japan. If anything, the weapons and armor are far more reminiscent of Portuguese instruments of battle more than anything else. And maybe that's a clever poke at the long-standing trade relationship that Japan had with Portugal starting in the 16th century, which this game kinda mirrors to a degree. But yeah, there's a little else of note with the Aknosom's gear. Okay everyone, I want you to imagine a chicken, but about the size of a turkey. Now, give it some vibrant colors, a big red comb, and then make it breathe fire like a Nissan Black Metal ramen commercial. And you get the gist. Originally from Takehara Shunsen's Ehon Hyakumonogatari, or Picture Book of 100 Stories, and Toriyama Sekien's Gazuhyaki Yagyo, or Illustrated Night Parade of 100 Demons, the Basan are a yokai only dwelling within the mountains of Ehime on Japan's Shikoku Island. They usually make their permanent residence within bamboo groves, like the ones found in Matsuyama near Ishiteji, and are typically only seen being active at night, giving the speculation that Basan are nocturnal. Legends state that they have big, bright red combs and plumage that looks like tongues of fire, though sometimes they're depicted with having green remiges, blue claws, and or sickle feathers. But the one thing that sets these plus-sized chickens apart the most is their ability to breathe freaking fire. Though it's said their fire is not really combustible, it merely gives off light, kinda like a continual flame spell from D&D. Lastly, Basan are not inherently evil, nor do they really hinder humanity. The only times they leave their bamboo groves is to travel to villages and settlements to eat soot, embers, and wood from human-made fires to feed its internal combustion. But should anyone stumble upon it feeding on a burnout fire pit, it's said that the creature is said to vanish into thin air. Now, with all that info in mind, let's re-examine Aknosom, cause I'm telling ya, there is far more that connects it to the Basan than the Kasobake. I mean, for crying out loud, look at Aknosom's elemental attributes in Rise. It's a fire-based monster for one, and for two, it's weak to water and thunder-based damage. Please pray tell, what is the primary use for an umbrella again?
To shield people from rain and storms. Alright, fair enough.
And let's be real here. During the actual fight with the Aknosom, how often does it stand on one leg hopping around, let alone coil its plumage together, giving off that umbrella shape? The answer? Never! The only time you ever see it resemble a Kasobake is within its introductory cutscene and a handful of art assets that it has. So it's pretty obvious then that while Aknosom's concept and promotional art gives it an umbrella look, in action it barely ever utilizes it. So no, I argue that this monster really isn't that parasol-like in practice. But okay, let's get to the technical stuff. A lot of Aknosom's attack range from quasi-martial arts to straight-up face-bashing, but it also breathes multiple fireballs at player hunters. I don't see Kasobake doing that, but you know what bird-based yokai's identification completely revolves around breathing fire? Basan! I mean, come on, this one's a no-brainer! And speaking of attacks, another aggressive move that Aknosom makes is to swipe at hunters using its razor-tipped wings. Now, let's have a look back at that concept art. Yeah, not so much straight-edge points, but rather curved slicing blades, right? Almost like tiny sickles. And boy, didn't I just get done saying that the Basan had been depicted as having sickle-shaped feathers?
I mean, I suppose one could glean that.
There's also the Aknosom's large crested head that it uses to charge at or bash player hunters with. Now, we can all agree that this is some kind of shade of red, yes? Maybe having that yellow mix in giving it some sort of flamed look? Well, in the research descriptions I found on the Basan, once again, it has a, quote, bright red comb and brilliantly colored plumage which appears like tongues of flame. Yeah, this plumage, it's looking pretty flamey with its motif of yellows to red. And finally, to really seal the deal here, let's head back to the all-important introduction cutscene. What exactly was that first stanza again? A bamboo forest. At night, the sound of dancing is heard. Where do Basan make their homes? In the bamboo forests of Ehime. When are the Basan most active? At night. You know what? Let's just for fun finish off the rest of that cutscene because I know that there's more. Resembling a parasol, but in truth is a monstrous bird? Yeah, hasn't that been the entire argument here in this video? Yeah, like Aknosom on the surface is based on the Kasobake, but in truth is far more similar to the Basan? Be wary of its figure and vibrant hue. As I just said, every source of research I found on the Basan clearly states that it also has vibrant plumage. So yes, while I do agree that Aknosom very obviously has some traits based around the Kasobake, the density and sheer number of said traits pales in comparison to the connections between the Aknosom and the Basan. God, even just saying those names back to back sounds way too similar.
Well, I can't really argue with that. But that only makes me wonder, with so many more references to the Basan versus Kasobake, why did the Monster Hunter Rise devs mention this? Like, is it entirely possible that these Basan connections are just coincidence? Did the devs just not share this? I mean, when it comes to writers and designers coming up with creatures of fiction, I know for a fact that half the time said designs are subconsciously derived from creatures of folklore.
I don't know. I think the devs are just kind of screwing with us.
Well, I don't know about that one, but what do you all think? Did the devs have Basan in mind with Aknosom and just failed to mention it? Or is this far more coincidental? Let me know in the comments below. But while you do, a huge thank you to my patrons for making this video possible. It was pretty wild seeing the poll go back and forth between Rise and Senko-san, but this was an extremely intriguing video to put together, so I'm really glad Rise came out on top. And don't worry, Senko-san fans, we'll get back to Kitsune analysis soon enough. And if you don't want to miss out on that and all my other cultural analysis videos, be sure to sub up, get notified, swing by the channel page, and hey, come check out our streams every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday at 7 p.m. US Central, where we break down culture and gaming live. But until next time, everyone, this is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.